Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech with Heart. I am your host, Michelle Calloway, and today I have a very special guest, Lori Saitz. She is a marketing and communications expert, and we're going to be talking about networking strategy and how you can get the most out of the investment that you've made in time and in money to go out and network for your business, to promote you, to promote your brand, to promote your product, your service, just to build relationships. Lori's going to talk to us today about how we can really collect good quality connections and build and nurture those connections, and how to set up a strategy so that you can be more successful in your networking efforts. So welcome to the stage, Lori Saitz. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lori.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. This is great.
Yes, I'm going to do a quick little introduction of some of your past experiences so that people understand why you are an expert in this space. Okay, so like I mentioned, Lori has 25 years of experience in marketing communications, and she has worked as an on-air radio personality in South Florida, and as the author of How to Feel Comfortable, Confident, and Courageous at Networking Events. She is often interviewed in the media and regularly speaks to corporate teams at conferences and events. And back when she first launched her company and introduced the world to the gratitude cookie, hopefully we'll hear more about that today, she had to learn how to network effectively to find clients and referral sources. And today, clients come to her because they fear missing out on opportunities. And as a networking strategist and speaker, she works with managers who send employees to conferences to ensure that their people come back with valuable connections that benefit the company. She also helps architects, accountants, attorneys, engineers, and consultants who want to make partner at their firms to build connections that lead to new business. Wow. Thank you so much again for gracing us with your presence today, Lori, and sharing a little bit more about some of the insight on how we can build those quality relationships and elevate our company and either our status within an organization. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so Lori, why don't you go ahead and start sharing with us a little bit about some of the phases that you know of that are in networking. So networking is kind of a big field. Let's go ahead and break it down. You said there's three phases, and I would love for you to share a little bit about phase one, like for instance.
Yeah, the first part is, what are you doing before an event? What are you doing before you go to an event? Maybe before you even decide which events or conferences to go to. And then the second part is, what do you do once you're at the conference or at the networking event? And then the third part is, how do you manage after that? How do you manage the follow-up part?
Okay, so let's start with phase one. What is it that you suggest that we do?
So there are several things that you could do in the beginning before you get there. So one of the things is, that you're going to be asked the question, what do you do? Like, it's a horrible question. I'm out to eradicate the asking of such question. But at this point, it is still something that people somehow are trained to ask, or So you're going to get that question. If you know that, then it makes sense to prepare for it so that you can answer it without being caught like a deer in headlights. How can you concisely answer that question in a way that makes people quickly understand what you do, and either say, oh, I'm really interested, I might need that service, or I know someone, I could refer to you.
So we've talked about this in some of the networking groups I go to. They call it either a 30-second me, or some people call it an elevator pitch. But those are just what I'm hearing more and more is that don't come at things in a robotic format. It's good for you to understand who you are, what you stand for, and what you want people to know about. But it does need to be modified quickly on the fly sometimes, depending upon whom you're talking to. I know it's important when you're going to a networking event, especially depends on how short of the time frame that you have. It's almost like power dating or speed dating or whatever, you feel like, oh, I want to learn a little bit about who they are so I can figure out how I might fit or benefit them, right? So it's not, I mean, I know that we've also been learning a lot in CEO space. We talk about collaboration, cooperation a lot more than we talk about just going after the get. It's a great way to build relationships, but still, it's important for you to somehow quickly understand who it is you're talking to so that you can perhaps modify what you're going to say so that you can help them see how you could possibly be a good fit for what they're looking for or the pain point that they're having. Am I right?
Well, yeah, sure. Once you get into a conversation, but that initial, what do you do? Like most people would stand there and say, oh, well, I'm a financial advisor or I'm an organizer or whatever it is. They like their title. It's not what they do. So help me if you're talking to me, help me understand who your best ideal clients are and what their problem is and how you solve it really quickly. So that's where it requires really thinking about how do you serve people? But aside from that question, so that's one of the things you could do before you get there. But the other thing, and you're talking about customizing how you deliver that message to the person you're talking to. Another really important thing to do is, if it's possible, find out who else is going to be at the event so that you can strategically decide who you want to seek out and talk to, as opposed to just showing up and wandering around aimlessly. Maybe you'll end up talking to somebody good.
So that's part of a strategy, right? So there's, she mentioned really good things so far. You have to kind of understand what you would want to say, not necessarily your title, because from what I gather from all the networking that I've done is that people may or may not ever remember your name, but then they definitely won't care about your title, but they do care about what it is that you're going to do that's going to help make a shift in their business. So they want to know how what you do benefits them in some way, shape, or form, or how you have benefited others. They remember stories. Stories are really great. So the second thing is do your homework before you go to an event and identify whom you believe is going to be there that you really would like to connect with and why, and then therefore figure out what you would want to say so that you're not freaking out when you're there trying to figure out what words you should be using. And practice your pitch, but practice variations of your pitch. It gets easier with practice.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even refer to it as a pitch because that sounds like you're trying to sell something. And so let's back up to the very beginning of what even is networking. And networking is not about selling. It's not selling. Networking is the very beginning of a relationship, of building a relationship. It's meeting people. It's making new connections, and it's the start of a relationship. I don't know anybody who's ever walked into a networking event or to a conference and met somebody they've never met before and walks away with a signed contract from that interaction. It just doesn't happen. So keep in mind that networking is just the very beginning of a relationship.
And if you go into it with that mindset, then you will be more relaxed and you'll be looking at people as people rather than dollar signs. You know?
Exactly.
It's very important. Okay, so that is phase one. So the strategy is plan ahead and kind of know what type of words you would like to use to best describe the service or what amazing benefit your product, if you're a product person, has to offer that's going to make a huge shift for somebody. So what do you suggest we do next? What is the next phase, Lori?
Yeah, so if you're talking about now, I mean, there's several more things you can do to prepare before you go to an event. But, okay, so let's say now you're at the event and you're meeting people. And I mentioned how the what do you do question is an awful, horrible way to start a conversation. So better questions. What are some better questions that you could ask someone that will create a more substantial conversation, create a stronger connection with that person? Because generally conversations are about finding what you have in common with the other person.
Okay.
So my number one question that I love asking people is something like, what are you excited about working on right now? And because people are eager to talk about what they're excited about, and they can decide whether that is something work related or they have a project they're working on with their kid at school or something. Like whatever it is, it's going to give you insight into who that person is, and it's going to make the conversation so much more interesting.
That's a really great point, because another thing that I've been trained to do is to, like you were saying earlier, seek out, to connect with one or two people ahead of time, like do your strategy and find out who's going to be there, and then do your homework. And one of the great ways we can do these days homework is to look at their social media accounts and find out where their passions lie ahead of time. So we kind of go in already having done some insight as to who perhaps they are, not fully knowing, of course, for sure, because you haven't met them yet, but you kind of come in at that angle and then find that common ground. Because have you ever been to an event, those of you who are listening, have you ever been to an event and you met somebody that's from your hometown? It's like, as soon as you find out that they grew up and went to high school, and all of a sudden you just feel so much closer to them. And that is the same kind of concept, any kind of common ground. If you find out you both love pugs, or, you both have two children of the same age playing the same types of sports, there's that common ground. And all of a sudden just walls and barriers come down and you can connect with people a lot quicker because you found that common ground really early on. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, so that's a good point. And one of the things I talk about in my book that you mentioned, how to feel comfortable, confident, and courageous at networking events, in that book, there's a little caveat to what you just said. And that is, there's a difference between doing some reconnaissance and finding out some stuff about people and becoming a creepy stalker. Okay, so
good point.
You don't want to go into the conversation and go, hey, I saw on Facebook that you were on vacation last week in the Bahamas. Like, that's a little creepy. Maybe stick to what you see on LinkedIn versus Facebook, kind of like as a lead in to a conversation is what I'm saying.
I got you. Okay, so so those of you who are listening, it's good for you to have the intel. It's just not necessarily great for you to spill the intel. Because you don't want to creep somebody out that you've been stalking. That's a very good point, Lori. Very, very good point. Especially those who are really, really like celebrity status, like they're just crushing it in your business industry, and that perhaps you're just a huge fan and you just really want an opportunity to meet them. You definitely don't want to creep them out because you will not get a second chance.
Exactly. So just fine line there, but make sure you're staying on the right side of it.
Good job. That was a great point. Thank you. Is there anything else that you could allude to for the first stage, setting it up and helping you to have the most success at the networking event?
Okay. Well, so we kind of wandered into at the event and asking the better questions. That's one question. There are some other questions. So if you're talking to somebody who is maybe a more senior person, I get this a lot of times when I work with people or speak to audiences of younger professionals. They feel like I don't know what to say to somebody who's more seasoned in the industry because what can I offer to them? What can I say? And so to those, I ask them questions about their career, or like, how did you get started in this industry? If you were doing it again, what would you do differently? Asking them questions that allow you to tap into their knowledge and expertise, and that they would, most people are happy to talk about their experience and share that with somebody who is new to the industry. So it's about coming up with, again, better questions as opposed to what do you do?
Great points. All great points. So asking the right questions can get to the heart of the person a lot quicker. Therefore, you can establish that, obviously, that connection, that common ground. But on top of that, you can start identifying in your mind's eye when you're hearing this, perhaps, what you might want to be able to say that can help them see the value of what it is that you are doing or working on or
Well, it helps you understand. It helps you understand who they are as a person and how you might be able to provide some way to support their success or contribute to their success, because it may not be anything that you could offer from your company or from your, they might not become a client, but maybe you could send them referrals. Maybe they could maybe they could become a strategic partner for you. You don't know where it's going, so you're just trying to get to know them as a person so that you can start this relationship and see where it could go.
Yes, definitely great to be showing interest, obviously be genuinely interested in who they are, because people can tell whether you're listening intently to actually build a relationship versus listening intently so that you can figure out what to say next. There's a huge difference there too. So the mindset and the heart space need to be kind of like in the right place where you genuinely value human connection. And that's why Tech with Heart even exists, is because what we see is technology is coming up with all of these like automations, and we're actually going to be doing a presentation about automation and follow-up, but we also want to ensure that we are not forsaking that quality human connection factor. So there's ways to do both, but so oftentimes you're finding that people are swinging one way or the other. They're lacking that quality connection, and people will only care about you if they can tell that you genuinely care about them.
Exactly. And a lot of times I hear from people that they hate networking because it's so superficial, or people are just trying to sell me stuff. That's why I don't like going to networking events, hear it all the time. But this is the way that you can make it more interesting and more substantial and have a better conversation by asking the better questions.
Asking better questions, perfect, and genuinely be interested in their answers and listen, and not just hear, but listen.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So then what's next, Lori?
So, okay, let me throw in a fun thing here, because I also get asked about this a lot. So now you're having a conversation with somebody and you want to move on and meet somebody else. How do you gracefully exit the conversation? Have you ever had this issue?
All the time. My eyes are like, oh my goodness, that person I've been waiting for just opened up. Oh my goodness, I really need to get over there. I want to talk to them before they get crowded again. Yes.
Right. So here's the best way to get out of the conversation you're standing in right now. Hey, it's been great chatting with you. I'm going to let you go mix and mingle with some other people, and I'm going to do the same. And we'll touch base, whatever, next week. I'll email you tomorrow, whatever it is that you're going to do. And then step away. This is so much better than saying, I'm going to go refresh my drink, or I'm going to go to the ladies' room, because those responses, somebody could go, oh, I'll come with you. And then what? You're still stuck. So if you just tell, and you're putting it kind of on that, like, I'm going to let you go talk to some other people, and I'm going to do the same thing. And it's just a nice way to release both of you from the conversation.
That's great, because again, you're bringing up the point that when you're networking and you're meeting people, you need to make them feel that it's all about them and what's going to best benefit them, and not so much self-serving. And anything that you say and do, the more you can just say, oh, I want to learn how I can possibly serve you. Or anything. It's all about them. My publicist says that people are their best or most favorite topic, right? So everybody... It's so true, though. We do really want it to be about us, but when we're networking, we're starting to shift that mindset to be more about the person that you're talking to, not you. But it takes a little while to get there to where you're not just doing that whole vomit pitch, like, this is who I am. Well, this is what I can do for you.
Nobody wants to talk to that person.
No.
And then you'd have nothing to follow up on. So if you want to move right now to the follow-up part, another reason why it's so important to ask better questions is because that gives you something to follow up on. So if you're standing in a conversation and you're talking about the weather or the fact that the Washington Nationals just won the World Series, yeah, I'm in Washington, so
Congratulations.
There's nothing to follow up on with that. Like it may be semi-interesting, not even all that interesting in the moment, but then there's nothing to do. You have nothing to follow up on. So if you've had a more interesting conversation and talked about things that are important to that person, you have something you can follow up with after the event.
So talk to us about the language in follow-up, please. Like, how would you go about doing your initial follow-up, and then what if you don't hear back from them? Secondary follow-up, and then what if you still don't hear back from them? But you really felt like you'd made a connection. 'Cause this happens to me all the time. I feel like, wow, this connection here was just like lit. So I highlight them that I really, really want to connect with them really quickly because they're hot. They were so excited about meeting me. They really wanted to take it to the next level, but we couldn't at the time. But then you try and get a hold of them. You try your best to use words that will, evoke some sort of a response. So Lori, please share with us, what is some of your strategies on your follow-up for that?
So Michelle, how many emails do you get a day?
Too many. I have so many, like almost 10,000 unread emails.
Okay. So consider the person you're attempting to reach has the same.
Agreed.
So it is, first of all, not personal. And if you recognize that, then you can accept the idea that you're going to need to be more persistent. So for one thing, I recommend following up with people that you meet at events within the first 3 days after the event. And one of the ways to make sure that we get that done, because everybody has a million things going on, and especially when you come back from a conference, let's say you're at a 3-day conference, like, you have so much to take care of and catch up on. But I recommend putting in your calendar time to follow up. When you set time to go to the conference or to go to the networking event, also set time in your calendar to do the follow-up, because otherwise you have the best of intentions and it doesn't happen. And if you're not doing the follow-up, then you have pretty much just negated all the time and effort you put into going.
Agreed. That's it's an investment. Yeah, you're investing the time to go, and you've made a wonderful, perhaps great first impression, but it doesn't end there. There is still work to do. So I've actually sometimes I've actually said no to certain networking events, even though I knew they would be phenomenal, because I knew for a fact I had no time in my schedule to follow up.
And that is so smart, because like we said at the beginning of our conversation, networking is about starting a relationship. You have to be willing to build and nurture that relationship in order for it to be of any value to either one of you. So, so schedule the follow-up. So the first follow-up may be sending a LinkedIn connection. And with a note, I always recommend doing notes. I know some people say you don't have to send a note. I just prefer to send a note. Great talking with you at whatever the event was. Maybe mention a point.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn, and then also an email. But like you said, you get a million emails. Now, I used to do this all the time when I had my first business, and it's getting harder and harder to do now. But I used to send a handwritten note. Thanks, it was a pleasure meeting you, and again, a couple of sentences about what we talked about, because it sets you apart. Nobody's getting stuff in the mail. The harder part now is that people don't have mailing addresses necessarily on their business cards, and it's really difficult to find a mailing address anymore for people. Like 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't as difficult. So
well, let me kind of throw a caveat in there too, because I'm a firm believer in that high touch, which is when you said a personalized handwritten note, that's super high touch. That sets you apart like big time. That's really going to get somebody's attention, because there's a 100% open rate of that kind of mail. If it looks like a card, people will open it 100%. Plus, they feel like, oh, wow, she went above and beyond and sent me a written note. Who does that? That's phenomenal. She really cares about me, right? So there's some technology out there. It's called Send Out Cards is a really great company that provides a super easy, templates that you can just, have ready to go. You can write a personalized message, again, kind of triggering their mind about how and where you met them, and get that sent out automatically. So you're not having to really do a whole lot. You don't have to go to the mailbox. If they take care of the printing and delivery. So as far as Tech with Heart tools, Send Out Cards is one of my faves. The other neat thing is that you can actually personalize those cards with a selfie photo. So if you really feel a connection with somebody, you can always ask their permission to take a photo with them at the time. Please be sure you ask their permission and don't just force it upon them, because it's another etiquette thing. But then you can put that photo on the card and send it to them. Or if you happen to see that they're in love with their pet, you can, grab a photo of their pet off of Facebook or in your social media, put that on the card. And again, that grabs their attention, and it also connects with their heart in a way that's really exceptional.
Yeah, exactly. And I still love that way. I was just mentioning that sometimes it's become more difficult to get a physical mailing address.
Oh, that's right. That's what I was going for, is on the follow-up. If you wrote to them via LinkedIn, direct message, or text, you can always say, hey, I want to send you something. Can I get your mailing address? If people find out you're going to send them something, they must almost always provide you with a mailing address.
Exactly.
A little extra work, but it sure could make a huge difference for those ones that you really want to just, escalate the relationship level.
Right. And so, when you say extra work, it's like, okay, but what is the benefit? What are you really looking to gain? And is it worth that effort? And most of the time, yes. The answer is yes. Okay, it's going to take you a few extra minutes more than just shooting off an email, but it's going to get you attention, and it's going to help you advance the relationship, which is the whole point.
It is truly the whole point of networking. So good points. All these are really great points.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so you were saying being persistent. So, okay, so they don't respond to your email. Maybe you send them a card and they get the card, they open the card, they love it, they put it up on their bulletin board, or, on their desk, whatever. But you still don't hear back from them because they're busy. But know that just keep reaching out, because it's persistence. I mean, I've contacted people 7 or 8 times before I get a response. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being persistent, because I was busy, but I wanted to talk to you, but I just haven't had. And, a lot of times I get clients who are like, well, I reached out to her. She said she wanted to be in touch. She said she wanted me to follow up with her, but then she didn't respond. So I don't want to be a pest. I'm like, okay, 1 or 2 contact points is not a pest. And again, you said you have 10,000 emails. That's not unusual. Just, you have to keep being persistent, and people appreciate it. They don't look at it as if they don't want to hear from you, they'll tell you, stop bothering me.
Okay, so I like the persistence thing. Let's talk about what that looks like, because we don't want to be pushy. We don't want to be a pest. So what are other ways of being persistent, Lori? Can you give us some ideas?
Yeah. Well, so what are you reaching out for? I mean, sometimes it's sometimes follow up is, hey, let's get together for a cup of coffee. Can we set a date? What day is good for you? Or Tuesday or when, setting a time to do a coffee date, whether that's in person or it's virtual over a video coffee date. I've done those. It's about what can you provide that's more value. So I want to maybe let's do a coffee date so we can continue the conversation we started at that event. Or I know you said you were interested in X, and that I just came across this article about X. So you send the article, send something of value. It's not always, how can I talk to you so I can sell you something?
Oh, agreed.
Yeah. It's got to be about providing value to them.
Okay, so one of
keep
the things
advancing.
I also have been doing that I believe is working very well is that once you do connect with them on social media, LinkedIn and or Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, is that when you see them having something that they're celebrating in life, go ahead and feel free to post a comment congratulating them.
Yeah.
Show them that you're a fan of theirs, whether they're doing business with you or not. Then they're going to start seeing you more and more, and that's more top of mind awareness, and that's what we're all trying to do, is stay in front of them. And then when they make a comment back, hey, thank you so much. And then you can always private message them at that moment that they just responded and say, hey, is it possible for us this week, maybe tomorrow, to finish up our conversation? You know, I'd love to chat with you some more and see how I can serve you better. Or, I don't know, there's different words you can use.
Yeah. That's exactly, you're right on. That's really, yeah, exactly. And as you're watching what they're talking about on social media, is there some way that you can support their efforts or their cause to help them be more successful?
Exactly.
That
thing. Yeah. When you find out that they're sitting on a board or a chair of a nonprofit organization, you can just say, oh, wow, is there any way I could support you with, you know, what services I provide? I would love to be of service in that capacity. I love what you're standing for. And, you know, you're tapping into their heart space for sure.
Right. Exactly. And the more you can support what they're about, the more then the law of reciprocity comes into play, which, are you familiar with what that is? Maybe we should.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and talk about it, though. I mean, please share.
You don't know. Yeah, so the law of reciprocity says that when you do something nice for someone, they feel compelled. It's a subconscious thing that they feel compelled to pay you back in some way. You know, it might not be immediate, and it might not be, I sent you a referral, so now you got to send me a referral. That's not how it is. But you're creating some level of indebtedness, and so they will be more willing to help you in the future.
Yeah, agreed. Because and I also believe, like you had mentioned, you touched base on this earlier, that whether you ever receive them, connect with them as a client, you know, or not, they're still going to be a person that could potentially refer business to you, or perhaps become a strategic partner. Opening the door to have that collaborative cooperation kind of conversation is really key. Most people are very open to having those conversations rather than feeling like they're going to get on a call with you and you're just going to sell them. That's just not appealing. Nobody has time for that. If I can quickly make an assessment as to whether or not I think I need your services, I'm not going to take that half an hour conversation. Half an hour of our time is incredibly valuable. Time is one thing that is so elusive these days. We have to cherish it like platinum, and not just be so open to like willy-nilly give it away. That's why strategy is really important. Lori mentioned scheduling time on your calendar for follow up, because if you do not schedule it, chances are it's not going to happen, because time just, it goes by so stinking fast. So great points, Lori. So in wrapping things up, do you want to talk a little bit about this gratitude cookie that we talked about in your opening you know, your what's the gratitude cookie, Lori?
The gratitude cookie was the product that I sold in my first business. But somehow over the past few weeks, it's very bizarre, the gratitude cookie has been seeing a resurgence in conversation around it. But it was a cross between a butter and a sugar cookie. It still is, family recipe. And I was created a business doing customized gift packages of gratitude cookies for people, business professionals, to be able to send to their clients and their referral sources as a way to say thank you.
Aww.
So, gratitude cookies as a business doesn't exist anymore, although the people who know and love them would love for it to come back. It's not, but the idea of it still exists in terms of doing nice things for clients. I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but it does also ties into that law of reciprocity that we just mentioned. But, you know, saying thank you and being grateful for your clients and for people who send you referrals is huge. And now, you know, we're coming up into the holidays, and So a lot of people are thinking about that.
Hey, let's talk about gratitude in that sense too. I had mentioned earlier send out cards. And so for those of you who have never heard of the send out cards model, it's a technology where they built a mobile application that allows you to create a customized, or you can use a template type of a greeting card where it just says, hey, it was great to meet you, or thank you, perhaps thank you for your time, thank you for that event. And you can attach gratitude brownies. And they will automatically send those for you, so you don't have to go shopping. You don't have to do any of the sending or shipping. It all is done for you automatically. And if you really want to blow their minds and touch their hearts and just build that really quality, warm connection, you could even take it to the next level and make that greeting card or thank you card come alive with a personalized message through the Revelio app, which is the technology that my company has built. So that's a really, really wondrous connection way for you to show gratitude and appreciation for that person and their time. I guarantee you'll get a call. If you send
I was just going to say that is how you guarantee you get a response.
Go above and beyond. Yes. Show them that you really value them, and they will be like on it. They will respond back. So the more outside of the box that you think, the more clever and heart-centered that you come across when it comes to people, that is where it's at. People will gravitate towards you if you come across with an attitude of gratitude, and it's all about them and what perhaps that you can do to serve them truly and really in your heart you want to serve. And, you end up attracting who you are. So, if you want to attract higher clients, you need to kind of start hanging out with higher level people and start operating on a higher frequency, which is get out of yourself and get into others more and show them that you're there to support them and love on them and encourage them and just be a support group. So Tech with Heart Network is a group that I'm leading to try and empower business owners. And I would love for you to ask Lori any questions you have regarding any networking. Put those questions in the comments, and she would be more than happy to respond on this Facebook post. And then also, if you are an expert in your space and you have something of value that you could share with others in this business community, please share in the Tech with Heart Facebook group. We want to hear from you. We want to support one another. And Tech with Heart is all about empowering you to be successful in a digital era. So again, where can technology be used to make things more effective and efficient, but yet we have to make sure we keep that heart in it all so that we are valuing human connection and building quality relationships that will take us all, we all rise together, right? So
yes.
Lori, can you share a little bit about where people can go to perhaps work with you, or do you have anything of an offer that you'd like to make? I'm going to write down your business website here. I'm going to do that while
okay. Yeah. So I have the book I mentioned is How to Feel Comfortable, Confident, and Courageous at Networking Events. And that is available at zenrabbit.com. My company name is Zen Rabbit, zenrabbit.com/book. And then we also have, I know you're not supposed to make two offers. I don't want to confuse people, but if you go to Zen Rabbit,
meditation, I put up the meditation link, so just so you know, I did that.
Great. The meditation is a more recent thing that I created because a lot of people feel anxiety around going to networking events, and so I created this 5-minute meditation, and I've gotten amazing feedback on it from people who listen to it. It's a 5-minute meditation to help you feel more calm, to feel calmer right before you walk into a networking event.
That's fantastic.
And it's free. There's no, you don't have to give me all of your contact information to get it. Just go to zenrabbit.com/meditation and have a listen.
Awesome. Well, that is a beautiful gift. Thank you so much. I'm going to take a look at that myself, because you need to get into the right heart space and head space before you walk into a room, because your aura, your energy, it's coming across to others what your intentions are. Set your intention, clear your mind, open your chakras to receive as well as to give, but be open. Very open to whom you're going to meet and what potential new beautiful relationship you're going to be establishing at that event.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this meditation is about. Like I said, it's 5 minutes.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Lori. You have given us a plethora of nuggets of wisdom that we can take into our next networking event. So again, if you have any questions, please post them in the comments of the Facebook Live, and Lori would be more than happy to get back to you. And if you would like to get on our Tech with Heart mailing list to hear about our next experts, we're always about bringing experts to the table to empower you as a business owner, what's proven, what's working, and how to go about implementing it into your business. That's what we're here for, is to help you sift through the clutter of digital noise and focus on what's really going to make your business shift and become more competitive long term. So, all right. Thank you so much, Lori. Have a great rest of your week, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.